I think so.
Oh my
I-
god, the last time.
I made a
last
terrible
stream-
mistake, and I didn't actually bring up our Twitch channel before we went live.
Me too. I'm in the middle of pulling it up right now.
Oh no! Wait, how
I
did we
gotta
go
log
live
out.
if you don't have to pull it up?
Yeah,
Well, that's true. I guess it could have not gone live, and Streamlabs is lying to me. But just in case, welcome back to the Lost Ledgers. It's been a couple of weeks. Last week we did have to call off because of illness.
Yeah, somebody here just has a whack-ass immune system. Adam! Shit, maybe it's contagious.
I felt like garbage, and then I slept for 16 hours, and I felt a lot better.
I mean, that'll do it. 16 hours. That's like 2 days worth of sleep.
Yeah, it was way too much sleep for any normal day, but on that particular day, I needed it. I'd been on vacation the week before, and I think it took a lot out of me.
Well, that's Adam's week. Justin, how was your last week?
I don't want to talk about it.
All right.
We got some spells and
Shawn, how was your week?
Well, we did have the level 21 shot on Sunday.
That's true.
Oh, that was fun. That was fun.
We got
it was difficult to run.
Yeah, Adam ran us a one shot. If you recall our Celestials episode, he ran a one shot based on He Who Will Swallow the World. And we kicked its ass. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah,
you absolutely did.
Pretty handily.
It's Adam's fault, though.
I mean, I did let you play some absolutely busted characters because it was level 20, take an ASI and a feat every time you would take one, and also you guys had the most busted items ever. I put basically no cap on the number of items that you have.
Yeah.
So they were a little bit overpowered for my CR30 monster with some minions.
If you're a DM and you see that potion of giant size, think twice.
Don't do it.
Because that's a really strong potion.
But you know what? In a campaign, it would not be that terrible because it's a one-time use thing and it would fuck up one combat, maybe one day's worth of combat.
One probably very important combat.
Yeah.
That's another point. Yeah, a day's worth of combat because the potion does not go away naturally. I think it goes away after 24 hours at least. I think yeah. But otherwise, it doesn't have like, oh, this lasts for a minute, this lasts for an hour. Nope, it just goes. It increases your max hit points by twice.
Doubles them, in fact.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Where's that item from? Or was that just something you found on like on the homebrew thing?
Yeah, it's PHB, man.
What?
Or not the PHB, sorry, the DMG.
Well, it's the original book.
Okay, the original book. Because I was gonna say, like, I don't recall seeing that potion in there. I recall seeing the potions of like giant strength, but never like the potion of giant.
Well, it's a potion of giant size. Maybe I'm wrong.
From what I'm seeing, it's looking like it's from Storm King's Thunder, and so if it's coming with Duel, that would explain why it's a little bit fucked up. Because there's some fucked up stuff in Tomb of Annihilation too.
That makes sense. Okay. I assumed it was in the DMG. I thought I had seen it before, but you know what? That's fine. Well, enough dilly-dally. This week, we're bringing you something that we're calling Party Boons, or like Party Teamwork Feats, or whatever. It was a suggested idea from someone that Justin interacts with, whom we do not know. But it's a neat idea of little features that you can grant a party to allow them to interact in like a cool teamwork way. Two examples from the last podcast that we talked about that I think are really good examples of something neat are the ability to swap initiative spots, and when you kill, or it says kill, but when you drop a creature to 0 hit points, you can grant your party temporary hit points. Both of which I think are really neat and encourage some playstyles that might be different from the typical optimum. Because obviously the optimum would be just kill whatever the most important thing is, but maybe if you're fighting a boss that has with summons and you can kill one of the summons, you can get your teammates some temporary HP. Might be worth it. It would make killing minions very useful.
Yeah. As opposed to just like, oh, I'm not they're like maybe doing 6 damage to me out of my massive 200 health pool. I'm not gonna worry too much about it. But now it's like, maybe I can help make some of my ally just a little bit tankier for when the boss drops his AoE.
A little bit tinkier. So, what you see on the screen is my one and only party boon that I made this week, mostly because I had a hard time thinking of things. I have a very particular feeling when it comes to, like, making features that, like, should be kind of expected, I guess. We were talking about this a little bit before the podcast, but, like, this whole system is sort of... these are all sort of just examples of things that you can do, and not necessarily a system that, like, we've developed that we think you could append upon the existing game. We think it's really important as a DM and in a game to make it as unique to that table as possible. At least I think that's important. And one way you could do that is by handing out some of these things. Highly encourage anybody who's interested by these ideas to, steal them if you like, but also try and come up with your own things, and particularly try and come up with things with your players. I think it's a lot more fun when the party gets a say in the cool things that they get to do.
Absolutely. And even if they don't have their hand in designing it, I think that this is the sort of thing that you should absolutely be designing around, like, what is an interaction between two PCs that I want to encourage, or, like, that they are already having fun with, and how can I amp that up to make it even feel better?
Or even just, like, a meme that happens in your campaign. Like, maybe for some reason, your barbarian always makes their Arcana checks, so you just give them proficiency in Arcana. That's just an example.
And an expanded crit range on Arcana.
Yeah, or maybe it's a thing that you have 2 frontliners and one of them always gets knocked prone, and the other one, like, maybe they always deflate. Oh, I'll give them my hand up or whatever, and, like, make that a thing. Like, if they're prone next to their ally, they can get up for 5 feet or something. Simple stuff like that.
Yeah, or if your wizard constantly likes to keep chucking fireballs or lightning bolts at your frontline fighter, or I guess the area that your fighter is in, maybe you could give him, advantage on the check. Or
because he sees it coming.
Yeah, because he knows that it's on the way. Fun stuff like that. There's an endless possibility to come up with these.
But what we mean to say by this is that the examples we've come up with here today are a little generic, but to make these really shine at the table, you want them to feel specific. You want it to feel like nobody else would have this feat and really do the same stuff with it,
Personalize it with the characters.
Exactly.
Personalization is great. Everybody likes that shit.
It's super rewarding. As one of Shawn's players, I love that.
As one of Shawn's players, I also love it.
For Adam to return the favor.
No, I've been trying to think of stuff. I just don't have a great feel for your guys' characters yet.
Yeah, no, we're only 3 sessions in.
How much alcohol does your character have to drink, Shawn, for Adam to just be like, yeah, you can never get drunk again?
It's a great question. I mean, I already don't suffer any penalties for drinking, so I'm living the high life. So let's hop in here. Like I said, I only brought one, and that is the one that you can see on the screen right now. I had this idea. It's sort of inspired. I'll talk about that a little bit afterward. Keep away. You can hide an object among each other. When you are forced to make an ability check or saving throw to prevent a tiny object on your person from being found or taken off of you, you and each party member within 5 feet of you can make the ability check or saving throw, and then you get to choose which result to use, and the party member whose result you chose obtains the object. So essentially, let's say you're trying to you're trying to do a heist at, like, a gala, and your character is hiding, I don't know, like
a vial of poison.
A vial of poison on their person, and they do a search at the door. Okay, while you're doing the search, you have to make a check, sleight of hand probably, to hide the object. But if your rogue is behind you, they can also make the check, and you can use their result, and now you've slipped it into their pocket while you're being checked, and then repeat that process when the rogue is checked. And now your poison's been hidden. Or, the rogue could probably just make the check by themselves, honestly. Or another decent example is like someone tries to disarm your sword, you could pass it to your ally instead. They catch it before they're able to take it from you or something like that.
I don't think a sword is a tiny object, is it?
It would. I guess it depends on how you want to. I don't know how they define that, because a sword is longer than 2.5 feet, but also
it's very thin.
It's very thin. So
hold on.
A dagger would be.
A dagger would definitely be tiny. Yeah.
I guess it would all depend on how a sword would fit in the animate object spell. It probably would fit under.
Okay, but there's got to be guidance on size of objects. 5e.
Yeah, I don't know. I imagine most weapons are tiny.
Okay, so for tiny, the examples given are a bottle or a lock. For small, the examples given are a chest and a loot. So I think a sword would definitely be small, but I don't think it would be tiny.
Yeah,
great sword.
Chests and loot are very. I mean, depending on how you'd imagine a chest, I guess.
Yeah,
Well, okay, so for this, a barrel is given as medium. So a chest that is significantly smaller than a barrel.
I think,
a small key chest from Legend of Zelda, not the boss key chest.
Yeah, it's definitely
That's
the dimensions for it. Because a chest, by all means, is not going to be fucking light, and probably would not want to quantify it.
Yeah, no, it's all dimensions.
Yeah.
It's all dimensions.
Yeah.
In fact, I was writing this and I was like, I feel like 5e should have nomenclature for weight classes, which they don't. Obviously you can use weight, but it would be easier for players and DMs to regulate if instead of being
oh, hey, wait, what if it's a tiny object or a light weapon? Because light is a weapon property.
Oh, are there any light weapons that aren't tiny?
I mean, a hand axe.
Probably. Yeah. Would a hand axe not be tiny?
I think it's probably because the way that the axe head sticks out usually would kind of give it
light.
The
We've
whip.
got club, dagger, hand axe, light hammer, a sickle.
If you think of club baseball bat, that's probably.
I don't think a scimitar is tiny, but a scimitar and a short sword are both light.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
A crossbow is also light, and I would not say it is tiny. Well, a hand crossbow specifically.
I should probably add just a weight thing, less than 5 pounds, maybe. I'm sure a dagger's less than 5 pounds.
It looks like the bar for weapons is 4 pounds. Oh, although, no,
I don't have any of my books on me. They're all in the car.
Okay, there are 3 pounds. There are 3 pound weapons that are light, and there are 3 pound weapons that aren't light.
What's an example that isn't light? That's 3 pounds.
A longsword.
Huh.
And also a whip. Both 3 pounds and not light. But there is a 4 pound light weapon. So I guess 3 is kind of their line. Although there are plenty of 2 pound weapons that aren't light. So the light property does not correspond 1-to-1 with weight, because weight doesn't really matter. So they just threw fucking random numbers on this chart.
Yeah. I do wish there was just weight thresholds, just like there are size thresholds. I didn't know that tiny and creatures object creatures have different size thresholds. That's surprising to me.
The thing is, the page I'm looking at doesn't say anything. It doesn't have a chart that says, oh, if an object is more than this much, it will be this size class.
Right.
It literally just has a couple of examples for each one.
Right. I was just thinking that a longsword to me is that feels tiny. A chest makes sense as small, because small to me is just short but 5x5 essentially.
Right.
That's creatures.
The size kind of breaks down when you start thinking about inanimate objects, because for a creature, I do not take up a 5-foot cube.
Yeah.
But I command a 5-foot cube on the battlefield.
That makes sense.
That's why I'm a medium creature. a sword commands no space on the battlefield. It's an item. So
Can
Yeah,
I
I was
guess?
thinking about because I'm looking at my desk. My desk is either 2 or 2.5 feet in depth, and I'm like, this is definitely bigger than I would have thought as tiny.
Right,
That's
your
because
desk is
creatures,
probably-
and that makes sense now.
your desk is probably a medium object.
Anyway, I was thinking of
Can I guess?
sort
Can I
of like-
guess? Can I guess the thing that inspired you?
yeah, because you weren't here when I told Adam earlier.
Is this from the scene from Now You See Me 2
Yes.
where they're flipping that card? Yes.
Yeah,
That was my thought. That was my very first thought when I got finished reading this.
Though that would be an exceptional version of this because they're like years apart from each other.
Yeah.
In that scene.
But I mean, the idea is there, and I can imagine that a
they
party,
all
you know.
also already have expertise instead of hand.
Right.
But
Hey, Sid.
I think this is just a. I can just imagine a party that has this boon. You know, it would work great in those kind of like heist political scheme things where you're trying to get out with like sensitive information, and you're getting pat down and going through magical detectors and shit, and this just feels like if our characters had to do something like that and we were using this ability, I would feel like I'm in Now You See Me 2, which I think is a fucking amazing feeling because that is an iconic movie scene, and I will die on that hill.
Another fun thing about it is that you could use this in some certain encounter setups as well. Like some encounters are get the item and get away.
Yeah. Yeah, either protecting an item or keeping it away. Yeah.
You know, capture the flag type of scenarios.
Yeah.
Or griff ball type of scenarios.
Quick, grab the MacGuffin and get it away from him.
Exactly.
As long as the MacGuffin's tiny.
As long as the MacGuffin's tiny, that's true. Like a soul stone. Like not a soul stone, infinity stone.
Yeah. I mean, the soul stone is one of the infinity stones. Or
yeah, but not that one specifically,
I also
grab his amulet and get it away from him. Wink, wink.
I also like the idea of, this essentially this like musical chairs of an item, and then someone has to kind of get left behind and captured, and then the party has to go back to save them.
I also really like, because I mean it's unlikely, but there's a possibility that somebody with a bad sleight of hand check, like with a bad sleight of hand score, is going to have the best check, and so the clumsy heavy armor cleric ends up with the item, and it's like, oh yeah, he probably just squirrels it away in his armor or something. I like the possibility for that. It's not just, oh, whoever has the best sleight of hand score, you hand it to them, and then they walk through with it, and they probably make it, but maybe they don't. But this gives you the opportunity to be like, oh, the rogue fucked it up and tripped, but we were able to pass it off to the cleric. I don't know. I like that. I like that possibility.
There are also some ways that, let's say, the rogue is really high sleight of hand. There are some ways that you can be searched that don't care about your sleight of hand. Like if you go into I don't know, a super high security prison, for instance, and they're like, we're gonna need you to strip entirely. That changes the whole situation. Because there's not any place to hide, and they're gonna scan through your item. We're
gonna keep this PG-13.
Here, whack.
But yeah, no. I thought it was a fun idea, but it was also the only idea I could come up with that I felt comfortable making a mechanic for, I suppose.
Right.
But we can move on from this to the next three. I don't know who's next, actually.
We'll be able to tell from the titles.
Yeah, I'm waiting for one of you to tell me.
That's mine.
I think this is Adam's based on the verbose nature of the second one.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Okay, I see. You named it. Okay, you made an example and name. Anyway, Adam, what do we got here?
So first up, we've got Synchronized Spellslinging. The time you have spent together has taught you how to shore up the imperfections in your colleagues' casting on the fly. Whenever a party member casts a spell, any party member within 120 feet of them who can see them and who knows or has prepared the same spell can use their reaction to increase the slot level of the spell being cast by 1. For example, if Corin the Wizard casts Fireball using a 4th level spell slot, Farim the Sorcerer can use their reaction to have the spell be cast at 5th level instead, as long as Farim knows Fireball. And my intention was to add a once per short rest restriction on this, but I forgot to put those words at the back.
Okay, yeah. I was going to say, this would definitely get way too out of hand as if just everyone was like,
Party of wizards, motherfucker.
Yeah.
I use my reaction, you use your reaction, then you use your reaction, and this is this fucking triangle of increasing their spell levels.
Oh, I also intended for it to not stack. Like, you can only one person can use their reaction on any given spell.
Okay.
I probably should have clarified that, but
Yeah, I think a little bit of clarification. That's not where I was thinking. I was just thinking about.
you were just thinking of like person A boosts person B's spell, and
Yeah.
person B boosts person C's spell.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I thought that once per short rest, getting one extra spell slot out of your like top level spell, like, yeah, that's nice. It's a nice boon. And it requires that somebody else in the party knows the spell, which like I said earlier, personalization is what makes this really key. But I was imagining a scenario where it's like, oh, the sorcerer and the wizard both know Fireball, and maybe they kind of feel like they're stepping on each other's toes by both having a big fire damage spell as their top end spell. But this way, they get to help each other cast Fireball better.
You know, imagine having 2 clerics in the same party.
For example, yes.
For example.
Maybe you have 2 dwarven lawful good clerics, and one of them's always casting healing spells, and the other one has them prepared but never casts them. Maybe he could use his reaction to make them upcast.
Yeah.
Just as an example, off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I don't know why I was thinking about that. But
I mean, I think that works just great. Listen, my healing isn't too good, but yours is. Like, let's fucking go.
One neat feature of this is that it would allow you, based on the way it's written, to upcast ritual spells.
yes, it would.
Are there any ritual spells?
I think
there's like 1 or 2 that can be upcast. The vast majority of them cannot be.
Oh, I'm trying to think if there's any where ritual. I'm trying to think of a ritual where upcasting matters, and I can't think of one off the top of my head. Oh, you know what? Maybe water breathing and water walk. Those might get you extra targets if you upcast.
They might. It's a good question because fuck if I know.
Yeah, I mean, if that's something we need to avoid, we could add the caveat as long as a spell slot was spent or something.
Animal Messenger allows you to have the messenger last longer.
Fuck it.
I don't think that's a huge deal because, like,
No.
you're upcasting it by 1 level.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's a big deal. I just thought it was a neat thing because you normally cannot
And also,
do that.
it requires someone else in the party to know the spell.
Yeah.
Which for ritual spells is even going to be more niche. Because it's like, yeah, sure, maybe you both know Fireball because it's one of the best 3rd level spells, but like, are 2 of you going to take Animal Messenger? Are 2 of you taking Water Breathing?
Well, not even that. Like, who are all the ritual casters in the game? There's Wizard, Cleric, Druid, and Bard.
And Warlock with an Invocation.
And Warlock with Invocation.
Still a lot.
One of those classes can just cast ritual spells without having them prepared. So they're probably not going to be preparing the ritual spells.
Yeah.
Wizard. So yeah, I think that's neat. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think there's anything else in the game that lets you do that, which is cool.
Yeah, I can't think of anything.
Weird.
But yeah, no, like, how do you guys feel about this? Do you feel like we've said what needs to be said?
I mean,
Yeah, with the limitations you were saying, I think it's perfectly fine. Honestly, if you're going to limit it to once per short rest, I don't even know if I care all that much about the once per turn thing. Though, no, I don't know. I don't think I do, because higher level casted spells, besides maybe Fireball and Lightning Bolt for the first 2 levels,
Don't scale super well.
Yeah, they don't scale typically as well as spells that are of the level you want to cast at.
My biggest concern was with something like Hold Person or Hold Monster, where it's already powerful at its level, and upcasting it gives you extra targets. I was concerned about 1 casting of Hold Person ending an entire encounter.
Yeah, but I think the caveat of just increasing it by 1.
Well, but also you would need 3 people in the party who have Hold Person ready to go.
Yeah, but a whole person is...
It is a good spell, but how many parties are going to have 3 spellcasters who even have it on their list? Much less I'll take it.
That's. I think Hold
Yeah.
Person is. I think it's a decently common spell.
Right, but I'm just saying, like, even if it's on everybody's spell list, how many parties even have 3 full casters?
This I think
That's
this is
true.
an interesting quirk of like us trying like making these examples is because these are
very different. These are very different power levels in very different parties.
yeah,
Yeah.
the DM has to decide to put them in, and the players can't like expect to get these, right? So like I'm not gonna go to a campaign and be like, hey, why don't we all be spellcasters and we can get this boon?
Right. It's not like this is part of White Room planning where it's like, okay, you make a party with these classes and these subclasses, and then you take this feature. You can't take this feature.
Yeah.
You need your DM to give it to you.
Yeah.
The accessories are definitely party dependent. Yeah, absolutely.
Super party dependent.
You know, just to say again, these are just examples of things that you could add. These are not
and even if
an exhaustive list, or
they totally could use a little bit of editing to make them really work with your party.
Yeah, if you have something in your party for where, you know, maybe upcasting like some of these, like they don't take like fly or invisibility, right? They take like damaging spells. Maybe you make it so that way it increases like the damage die by like 2 die or something like that.
Or maybe instead of actually upcasting it, it just increases the size of the damage die. It's like, oh, your fireball is now D8 fireball instead of D6 fireball.
You love this idea. You want it so bad.
I love fucking with dice, man. I love it. But no,
I do too. I wish 5e still had like a dice table.
Yeah.
For like a dice evolution table. So you could just reference it instead of having to make the whole system yourself every time you want to try and do it.
As I'm scrolling through, just trying to find, going through different ritual spells.
My friend Hannah's in the chat. Plus, the DM can just modify status immunities for any encounter they are worried about getting nerfed. That's true. Like, if the DM knows that the whole party has Hold Person and they have this boon, they're just like, well, none of them are humanoids, so like...
Oh, I know they all look humanoid. These are mind flayers in disguise. Yes, I know they're only CR2. What are you talking about?
It's 3 mind flayers in a trench coat. What are you talking about?
DM Fiat's always a great option. But yeah, I think that about covers this one. The only like really unique thing, I guess, like, not to say the idea isn't cool, but like the thing that interacts with that's the most unique out of anything here probably is going to be the fact you can upcast ritual spells.
Right.
And that's so niche, it doesn't matter.
Super really. Niche. It is beyond
It does
niche.
help. It does help if you don't want your ritual spell to be dispelled or counterspelled.
True, yes. Yeah.
So like you could have the party like, hey, can you guys all pile on this alarm so no one dispels it in the night?
Level 5 alarm.
That is an interesting concept, though.
Yeah,
it is.
Oh, man.
But what's the next thing we have here?
All right, so next thing is technique critique. You all have your weak points, but you all have your strengths as well, and you've all shared a few tips or tricks over dinner more than a few times. Whenever a party member makes an ability check that they aren't already adding their proficiency bonus to, they can add half their proficiency bonus to the ability check if a party member within 30 feet of them would add their proficiency bonus to the check and isn't already making the check. For example, if Dulger the Cleric is attempting a Charisma Persuasion check while Pallas the Bard is standing by, Dulger could add half his proficiency bonus to the check if Pallas has proficiency in Persuasion. But if Dulger and Pallas's companion, Herf the Barbarian, adds her proficiency bonus to initiative rolls, Dulger and Pallas won't be able to benefit, as they will all, usually, roll initiative at the same time.
It's so complicated for no reason. It's such a simple concept, but it has to be worded this way.
I needed to word it so that it wasn't like stupid. I needed to make sure that it's like
one way you could possibly do it. That would cost action economy, I guess, which is not the point here.
Oh, for them to use their reaction to do it.
Yeah, if you say if a party member within 30 feet of you uses this skill or whatever, the same thing you have here, you can let them add half the proficiency if you are proficient or something like that. What an absolutely insane thing to have. Dude, this is pretty neat with a bard.
Because they can Jack of all trades.
Yeah, because they technically do add the proficiency bonus to everything.
Oh
So
shit!
like that's a neat idea. I just love how overly complicated this is, especially with the example.
Your
The
bar-
example
your-
sounds like you're.
Mostly, I needed the example to say this doesn't work on initiative. Stop it.
It sounds like
But I
you're. The example sounds like you're nervously pitching me a story in the elevator. Like it's like, okay,
You
well,
can't-
you know Dolger, and there's also Palace.
But you can't. But initiative rolls, you can't get proficiency bonus in. You can get with the bard.
The Herringon adds proficiency to initiative.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
Also, there's
the
another
Herringon.
thing that does it, but the Herringon definitely does it.
The fucking Herringon. I forgot about that.
It's true. Also, alert should do it, but for some reason with feats they just said +5.
Yeah, that's kind of stupid. I don't like that.
I'd like it.
I think it's weird to like.
Ivy worked so hard to not just have floating modifiers all over the place. Like, and then for alert, they're just like, +5. Who cares? Nobody.
Yeah.
+5.
Or -5 for sharpshooter and great weapon
I do think-
master.
I do think that it should specify their full proficiency bonus, because I think with the bard in the party,
Can you give me, besides initiative, which I think is an obvious example. Actually, that's not even an obvious example because it only works with bards. Can you give me a scenario for this that's like that you were thinking of when you made it?
If you are all making, like, say, a stealth check at the same time.
But if you're all making a stealth check, then you can't do this because this forbids it if they are also making the check.
Wait, I'm sorry. Maybe I wasn't listening to the question. But can you repeat the question?
What scenario are you imagining people using this ability? Like, I'm proficient, but I'm going to let the person who's not proficient make the check instead and give them half proficiency.
I mentioned to Justin earlier that I thought these boons were highly variable in power. I think that increasing the spell slot of a spell that you cast is pretty high power, depending on context. This one, I think, is super low power, but lends itself well to social situations. So Dolger and Palace are somewhere where Dolger is taking the lead because he knows the people involved, but Palace is proficient in persuasion, so from a mechanics perspective, it would make sense for Palace to be the one doing the talking, even though you're talking to Dolger's parents or his boss or whoever. I wanted this to ease that tension a little bit, where it's like, okay, Palace still gets to help because Dolger gets half his proficiency, but it makes more narrative sense for Dolger to be the one making the check. That's how I wanted it to be. And I mean, you can already accomplish that rules as written by just letting Palace take the help action by being like, oh yeah, I'm standing back and pointing out, oh yeah, what about X? Oh yeah, what about Y? You can do this with the help action, but I wanted this to just sort of codify that, yeah, no, Palace, even though he's the party face, doesn't need to be making every persuasion check. He can let Dolger convince his mom of something.
That's fair. Especially, and I think this also works if I were DMing a party where the non-charismatic character was just not the face for whatever reason. It happens sometimes.
Oh, you mean like the non-charisma character is the face?
Yeah, exactly.
Specifically,
I mean to specifically point out that the charisma character is not the face, because there are situations where you are, a character who has high charisma but isn't sociable. Like, you want them to be like, maybe they're a warlock and they're edgy. It's a classic example. So you want them to be not the person, and maybe the party doesn't want them to be the person who's talking either. But he can still help.
Shawn.
Or maybe they're a paladin who's a little bit too holier than thou, so like they aren't great with people.
I feel called out, Shawn. Is there something you're trying to say?
Huh? No. What do you mean? Look, Justin, just because you made the mistake of making an edgy warlock, does that mean that when I refer to an edgy warlock, the most
Right, maybe he's referring to my edgy warlock.
Yeah, can we talk about
the one who is always the face, who is more often not the face of our party anyways?
Hey, listen, I've got a 22 charisma, baby. You can't stop me.
Or Kazan wasn't, he wasn't a warlock, but he was a tiefling. And that's 1/3 of the
basically
of the
a warlock. Yeah.
It's basically a warlock, yeah. The trifecta
racist.
is the 5e trifecta is Tiefling, Warlock, Edgelord.
Yes.
That is the trifecta. And maybe Hannah could confirm for me whether or not we're going to have one of those in her campaign, because we do have a Tiefling Warlock, but I don't know if he's an Edgelord. I don't know if he's finished the trifecta.
All right. Well,
my character's not a tiefling, so it doesn't make the trifecta. It's incomplete.
While we're
You're
waiting
right.
on Hannah to confirm or deny that, are you two ready for Pincer maneuver?
Yeah. Oh, she said no spoilers. God damn it.
Damn.
All right.
Okay. So Pincer maneuver. You are well acquainted with the battlefield, and your teamwork allows you to take extra advantage of overwhelmed adversaries. If 2 party members are flanking a creature, and one of them uses the attack action on their turn and attacks the flanked creature with all of their attacks during that attack action, the other party member can use their reaction to make a single melee weapon attack against the flanked creature.
Okay. Yeah.
It
Simple.
basically gives you an opportunity attack when you're flanking.
Hey Adam, this is the one that's most like one of mine.
Oh, damn. Okay, so we did not overlap on the skills.
And I was going to say, this is the one so far that's the most like an already existing mechanic. This is very similar to one of the maneuvers that the Battlemaster gets.
Oh, and I was thinking that it's like the Purple Dragon Knight.
Oh, it is like the Purple Dragon Knight, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, because they can use their react. What is it? They use when they attack, somebody else can use their reaction to make an attack or something.
Yeah. It also is kind of similar to the Warlord class I'm working on.
Oh, wow. Oh, you're working on a Warlord class?
I am.
Oh, nice.
Ballin'.
But yeah, no, I think this one is great.
I think this is one that you could just take out of the box and drop it in somewhere and be like, yep, this is fine.
This is the most like, you could drop this in any campaign.
Right. Yeah. Like, this work as a variant rule. It increases the power of flanking by a lot, but it could work.
This does
I
also
actually prefer this as a flanking variant
like
to
as a
the advantage. Variant? Yeah.
Like instead of advantage, other people can make. That's actually
that's real good.
That's actually really cool.
Reaction, I think that's cooler than just getting advantage for flanking. I still don't like rewarding how easy it is to flank a creature in 5e, but...
Well, I think 5e combat is so sticky, it doesn't make sense to move most of the time, so once you flank a creature, you're probably flanking them forever, but...
Just take the Shield Master feat, nerds, and then you won't have to worry about creatures getting melee advantage with melee attacks against you. Simple as that.
It's Shield Adept. Shield Master is the already existing shield feat that exists in the game.
Cool. You don't even remember the name
which
of your
makes it so that
because I would have needed
Shield
Master,
advantage.
damn it.
Oh no, that's I'm thinking of a different feat. I'm dumb. But yeah, no, I think this one fits exactly what it's supposed to be. Pincer Maneuver is also a great name.
I Pincer Maneuver was the hardest name for me to come up with on this list.
I do also appreciate how, as compared to the spellcaster one, which is just once per short rest, this is one of the things that martials just can always do. So this benefits the martial classes.
Honestly, giving people extra attacks is not the sort of thing that I felt the need to limit to a short rest. But upcasting spells are already powerful. Spellcasters already outpace martials with damage at high levels, and I didn't want to contribute to that. I didn't want to be 9th level Meteor Swarm, 9th level whatever. Like, I didn't want people... God, fucking... What's a good damaging spell at 8th level?
9th level Meteor Swarm?
I don't think... Yeah, I don't think... None of the spells at 9th level would... That wouldn't work.
What I'm saying is, in one combat, you cast a 9th level Meteor Swarm, and then you use an 8th level damaging spell that your party member upcasts to 9. Like, I'm saying you get 2 9th level spell slots out of it.
You know, technically, I don't think 9th level is like a hard cap. So in theory, you could upcast an 8th level spell and make it higher than 9th level with this ability if people stack.
Right.
Do that with 7th level spells.
If you've got three people in your party who all know the same 8th level spell, you can cast it at 10th level.
What spells even upcast from 8th level? Like,
I have no clue, man.
I know there's at least one.
You know how rarely I cast 8th level spells?
Crown of Stars, I know. Crown of Stars is 7th level, but upcast. I know that.
Okay.
Give me
Did
5
I-
level spell slots, please. Sid, shut up.
Did I? Hold on. Nope, I didn't even do it with Divine Wind, which just goes to show.
Dominate monster. It increases
Oh, yeah.
the duration. It increases the duration, but it doesn't scale because all 8th level spell slots just say, or all 8th
When you
level
cast
spells
at
just
9th
say
level,
when
yeah.
you cast this with a 9th level slot.
So what you really need is
It's
4
7th level
casters
spell.
with the same 7th level spell.
Yes.
All right, we get
Anyway.
4 clerics together. What spells do they cast?
Oh god.
Actually,
Let's
So this is surprising to me, but Dominate Monster is literally the only 8th level spell that has an at higher levels paragraph.
Oh, well, I know that when we made Banshee's Wheel, I made it 9th level makes it better.
All right,
For our homebrew, there's a slightly longer list.
all right. There's
That's an
for the
unreleased
clerics.
homebrew.
Oh yeah, we've never shown off Banshee's Whale on stream.
There's a lot of stuff we have not shown off on stream.
Yeah, like our dicks.
TOS, Sean.
Oh wow. The stream drops as soon as you say that.
Deserved.
Are there even that many 7th level spells? Etherealness.
I was gonna
What?
say
Etherealness.
Firestorm.
target
I
extra
think.
creatures.
Nope.
Firestorm does not scale.
That's
What
weird,
about
actually.
Symbol?
Nope. Symbol doesn't scale, I don't think. No.
It does not. So there's Firestorm.
Nope, not Firestorm. There's Etherealness.
Or sorry, Etherealness, and that's
Oh,
the only
Delayed Blast
cleric
Fireball.
spell.
Delayed
Well,
blast.
I was looking at cleric spells because Justin asked for cleric spells.
Yeah.
Yeah, only Etherealness.
Actually, I
Conjure
think-
Celestial only has a 9th level spell slot condition.
Yeah. God.
But if you drop cleric,
Yes.
there's Crown of Stars, Delayed Blast Fireball, and other things. I think we're getting a little into the weeds about what you could do with this.
Yeah.
Probably. Which, if you're getting into the weeds for this, fuck it. You're using all your short rest resources to upcast something like
Well, and
Prismatic
also
Spray.
you've got 4 of the same class in your party.
I just saw the spell Force Cage got angry. All right.
That's me every time I look at Force Cage.
Cat.
Yeah, my baby.
Cats.
Both babies.
Kitty. I
Wait,
gotta go
isn't
get
that
Finn.
Oh, no.
What?
All right. Let's move on to our last 3 here from Justin.
Ooh.
All right. All right.
All right. What do we got here, Justin?
So,
First one seems short and sweet.
short and sweet. First one, channel power. Once per short rest, as an action, a party member can spend a spell slot and give a spell slot of equal level to another party member. So essentially, the way that I like to think of this is you siphon power from yourself to give to another. So, maybe the cleric's 9th level spell is down, but your warlock, who doesn't think that they're 9th level mystic arcanum,
Doesn't work with warlocks. Don't have
spell
9th level
slots.
slots.
right? My mistake. Their sorcerer, who
There
has a
you go.
9th level spell slot, that maybe they're just like, this is not going to work for this encounter. But our cleric really needs their 9th level spell. They can channel it through to them.
I love this world that you live in that you think casters give their 9th level slot to somebody else.
Listen, man, it's an idea. It's an idea.
I'm gonna be fucking. This is actually I had this exact idea. The reason I did not do this is because I didn't want to encourage bullying.
You said bullying?
Yes,
Right,
specifically.
bullying somebody like, hey, I could cast 9 mass heal if you weren't being such a stingy bastard.
Or
That's
like,
fair, but also
Yeah.
I think if you are a DM and you know that you have an idea that your party. I'm coming through very loud for you, Adam.
yeah, it's echoing on Adam's side for some reason.
I'm sorry. Let me see if I can find some headphones.
Why'd that start? It wasn't doing that before, was it?
No.
It's because my furnace came on, and so there's a low-level rattling that means my microphone's on even when I'm not talking.
Penis's multi-class characters without 9th level spells and empty slots laughing. Agreed. That's I want 9th level spells so bad. I've never had them, but I can't help but make a half caster.
They're overrated.
I
Are they?
think
Absolutely not. I made a fucking dragon. What are you talking about?
But I think that
You also made friendship.
you did make friendship.
I'm
Congrats.
gonna do that anyway.
Were you? I think I think that if you were a DM
The
and you
audio's
were
much better now, Adam.
concerned,
Thank you.
yes, thank you.
What?
Yeah, the audio's much better now. Thank you.
Cool.
I think if you were a DM and you were concerned with characters or with character/players that might bully, like, give me your spell slots, nerd. I think maybe you wouldn't want to give them this, or I think you might want to
sure.
preface.
Honestly, if you have that kind of party, you maybe need to sit them down and have a talk.
Yeah.
Like, but
well, I don't mean like they're gonna wedgie them for their spell slot. I mean like someone who thinks that
give me your lunch money and also your last 6th level spell slot.
Yeah, I mean someone who like, you know, you're always gonna have players who believe that they have what's tactically right in their head,
Yeah.
and they might think that it wouldn't necessarily be them getting the spell slot. It could be like, hey, you should give your spell slot to this other person because they have this spell and would help us more. And I'm not saying like, you know, inter-party planning is super important, especially in combat, and that's fine. But there are some players where they see something like this could pressure other players who maybe don't really actually want to do that into doing it.
So a thing that I just thought of that might be kind of fucked up, but I think would make it feel like the player giving up the spell slot has a little bit more agency. They give the spell slot up as an action, and then the player they're giving it to can use their reaction to cast a spell with a casting time of an action with that slot.
That just seems really strong.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it would be no, it wouldn't be that strong because they're just giving up. It's almost like the fighter, the maneuver I was just talking about, where you can give up your action to let someone else use their, or your bonus action to use their reaction to make an attack.
Right.
So it still consumes the appropriate action economy just a little bit more as well.
That's the thing. It actually consumes more because you're giving up your action and the spell slot, and they're giving up a reaction to do a spell of that level as an action.
I didn't even notice the cost. I would not have this cost an action personally. If it doesn't let you also cast the spell, like Adam is saying, just because it would feel bad to just use your turn to give someone else more power.
That's fair. I think
they're not even to use.
I think maybe as a caveat, no, I don't know. I was thinking about maybe as a caveat, like you can when you do this, you can cast a spell as a bonus action with a casting time that has a casting time of an action. But that's, I don't know if that's getting too finicky or not. But I think there should be some.
I think that's a leaning towards a little bit finicky. I think this is already kind of finicky, even with like the.
It is once per short rest, Hannah said, which is actually why I was going to suggest something. You could have it so that it still costs an action, but what you do is you grant them that spell slot, and you get a spell slot that's smaller as well back, right? So like I'll give you my 8th level spell slot, but I get a 7th level spell slot back. So there's still a net gain that's happening. This is neutral for the party.
I like that.
But it's a net gain if someone gets a spell slot back as well. If it's once per short rest, it won't be as big of an issue, and you can't scum more 9th level slots or anything like that. It'll always get smaller.
Yeah, you could gain an 8th level slot by giving away your 9th level slot, but you're giving away your 9th level slot for that.
Yeah. I like that. I like that way of changing it. This was one of those things where I was like, it's one of those like selfless things, but I like that where you are still gaining something.
Yeah. I mean, like, honestly, with it as is, I wouldn't mind this. Like, it doesn't even have to be a party boon for me. If, like, I don't know, if it became a theme that my party wanted to do something like this, I might just be like, yeah, you guys can do that, sure.
But I mean, that's kind of exactly what a party boon is, right?
Well, the reason I'd be okay with this is because this is power neutral. The party is gaining nothing from this besides versatility, I guess. In like where they could put their power. So that's probs so broken. Oh wait, no, she said something else beforehand. Maybe it
Yeah.
has to add up. Is that weird? Like you can give a fifth level slot and keep a fourth from a ninth. Oh, that wouldn't be broken. I don't think that would feel great though, just because like a fourth and a fifth level slot is not as good as a ninth level slot.
No.
Or what I should say, a fourth and fifth level spell is not as good as a ninth level spell.
Right.
Slots, I think fifth and fourth probably are better than one ninth if you can't cast a ninth level spell for some reason.
Right. If you're casting the same spell twice versus casting it once at ninth level, that's different. But
yeah, but like this new version where you get the lower spell slot, it's good for the party. It is more power to the party, but it is still a sacrifice. Because like, or at least for the person who's doing it, so it's still a selfless thing for them to do.
Which I think still it still does that does feel real good to me because it is that act of I am selflessly giving something up. Here's a little bit of a reward for doing that. Because no matter what, like especially like anything higher than fifth level, like those spell slots, those are those things you hold on to to cast for like
you only
just
get
the right
one of
time.
each until 18th level.
yeah,
So,
those
or
are
19th
the
level.
real money makers, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is why when you multi-class, they don't let you have more than one, no matter what your level is.
The one thing that I want to bring up about this is because, and this was the thing that made me a little bit concerned, is that a warlock can essentially, would be able to benefit, or a warlock would be able to essentially give other people spells a lot better.
But I mean, it's once per short rest.
Exactly.
The party is essentially getting one extra spell slot out of the warlock every short rest.
This would be weird for the warlock though with the change because now they have a spell slot that's less than what they usually get.
That is weird.
Yeah.
You'd have to word it to you can't say regain a spell slot. You'd have to be you get a spell slot or something.
You get
because if you regain, then a warlock can't use it without just straight up losing their fifth level slot. Just to address Hannah real quick, because she was talking about changing a ninth into a fifth or a fourth. Yeah, no, I don't think I think there's still like situations where that would be good, and I think it would be a cool ability to have to be able to just break it down into smaller slots. It's just that
9 first level spell slots.
Yeah, I mean that's actually stronger than spell points because spell points a ninth level slot would be 6 first level slots.
Right.
But yeah, that would be cool if you could just be like, I'm in. Okay, you got me. Maybe I shouldn't have addressed you. It was my mistake. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Was there anything else you wanted to add to that one, Justin?
No, that was all. That was just my minor concern about that. But considering that the coffee lock already exists, I know that like this is probably like not that big of a deal.
This would be actually bringing that up. This would be super valuable to multi-class and full casters because they will never get ninth level spells, but they do get slots
that they can't use. Yeah,
that they could give to their caster.
They could get ninth level spells if they've only got 3 classes in their secondary class, or 3 levels in their secondary class, right? Because 17 and 3 you still get a ninth level spell.
If they only take 3 additional levels or other levels, then they're fine. But if you wanted to go the coffee lock, like you're not getting your ninth level slots. In fact, actually, it wouldn't work with warlock at all.
Yeah, with warlock it just doesn't work.
Yeah. But if you're a sorcerer bard, for instance,
or a wizard cleric,
if you want to divide between the two.
Speaking of fighting, Hannah, my next one is all about fighting. I think this one is probably gonna be the most controversial one out of it. I have a few.
What a segue!
Yeah, I'm great at these. Diversionary strikes. A party member with the extra attack feature can use their action to grant another party member within 5 feet of them with additional extra attacks. Until the end of the party member's next turn, they can make additional attacks if they take the attack action equal to the amount of attacks they can already make.
Ooh.
So, a couple different ideas for this. For example, if a party member is poisoned, they're going to have disadvantage on their attack rolls. They're going to want to help. So they're going to want to help. Okay, I do have that caveat in there. They're going to want to maybe let the barbarian take an extra 2 attacks. They're going to maybe want to let the fighter make an extra 2 attacks. Or maybe the fighter is going to let the paladin make 4 additional attacks and just burn through all their divine smites.
Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. I love it.
So that was kind of my idea for this. I like the idea of, once again, maybe give them something along the lines of because this is giving away something selfless to for another party member to shine. So maybe giving them a temporary AC boost, or give them temporary hit points.
Sorry, I was laughing at what Adam put in the chat.
I can see. I hate you.
Sorry, Justin. I like this ability. I had to say that.
Why are all my friends weebs? But so I think going back to what the previous thing was, I think giving somebody else giving the person that's sacrificing their attacks a little bit of something probably would make this feel better. What do you guys think? How broken do you think this could get?
So what I'm thinking is that this is a net loss for the party, right? Because
not necessarily, because like Justin said, if the fighter uses their action to give this benefit to the paladin is making 6 attacks on their turn.
Oh, okay, I see. Additional attacks. Okay.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I was misunderstanding it as essentially giving them the extra attack feature in your stead.
My No, I have it worded. Wrong. Adam, you are right. That is what I want. The paladin to make
I think the way you have it worded is correct. I think I just misunderstood.
Okay.
At least that's my reading of what you have here. It could use clarifying, just because there's nothing else that lets you modify the number of extra attacks somebody makes. But
I see. Yeah, I mean, this is neutral, but it might be.
It is in a white room. This is neutral, but in practice, this is always positive, because you're always giving up a worse position to let somebody in the better position make more attacks.
Yeah, this is why I think it's a little bit different from the spellcasting. In theory, all 9th level spells are the same power. All 8th level spells are the same power. All 7th level spells are the same power. That's not the case for all attacks. All of the fighters' attacks, each individual attack, is not necessarily just as strong as each individual paladin attack, be it because of magic items or class features or whatever. So if I, the fighter who has 4 attacks, grant the paladin 4 additional attacks, they have 4 additional ways of getting Divine Smite. They might have like a Holy Avenger.
Or if they're high enough level, they've got improved Divine Smite, just a couple of D8s on all of those attacks.
Yeah.
So like, if you're in a situation like that where someone's attacks are just better than yours, it can be a net gain for the party for that person to just have more attacks. I'm scared of bullying for this one too, though. I want to pair that with haste. That's a really good point.
Listen. See, yeah, or also if the fighter gives 4 additional attacks to the paladin, and then the fighter's like, all right, I'm gonna go first. And action surges.
God.
Yeah, so that's my question. So, is there? I guess in theory.
I think the worst possible thing that happens here is that you have 2 20th level fighters. Fighter A uses their action to give 4 extra attacks to Fighter B on their turn, then action surges and takes 4 attacks of their own. Fighter B makes 8 attacks, action surges, and makes 8 more.
Yeah, that is a big...
You might need to limit this to once when they take the attack action on their next turn. They make that many additional attacks. Because otherwise, a fighter anyone giving attacks to a fighter is doubling the number of attacks being made. But also, among the people with extra attack, fighters are the ones who have the least that triggers off of each of those. Fighters are making the most attacks, except for monks, but they're making the least effective attacks. Because monks are potentially proccing stunning strike on all of them. Paladins are potentially proccing divine smite. Barbarians have advantage on all of their attacks, and they're adding rage
Critical.
damage to them,
Yeah.
like brutal critical. So, like,
Hey,
yes, you could give your gecko all of your attacks.
I mean, yeah, you want your gecko to like just fuck around and like.
Hey,
do the
maybe my
tongue
gecko's a
thing.
badass, dude.
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
if your gecko's a badass, then absolutely, dude.
Hey.
maybe your gecko has 1 level in rogue and he's dealing sneak attack damage. Fuck you.
Hey, you can save 15 points or more in bludgeoning damage with the gecko.
Ah, man. Fuck. Just
a fighter on the side. Oh god.
Is it a gecko? Does the gecko control the fighter, or is the fighter the gecko's familiar?
Is the gecko piloting the fighter around like Ratatouille?
Oh
I
man!
I think this is like more of a gain than a spell. I do think it could be, depending on the composition, it could be marginally more or vastly more gain. So it's
Also,
it's hard
marshals
to say
get
this
cucked.
one.
So marshals also get cucked a lot.
Yeah, but this
at
isn't
these higher levels.
But let's, with our examples, for instance, with the paladin, this is really just saying, fighter, you suck. Give your attacks to the paladin. Right? This isn't really helping the marshal's case.
Actually, you know what I would do is I'd add the short rest restriction to this to prevent the constant bullying.
Yeah, that's
so
the thing that I'm worried about.
You want to do it once per short rest? Fine, but after that, I get to make my own attacks. Damn it!
All right, that's a little fair.
This is the rare situation where I'm adding. I think you should add the short rest restriction, not for power level reasons, but just for like
bullying reasons.
The piece at the table, like
yeah. If you get
inevitably
one
in every combat, someone is going to be the most effective fighter. Whether that's the fighter or the barbarian or the paladin, someone is going to be the most effective fighter in every combat.
This episode's making me feel a very weird way because normally I would just be like, well, if you're the DM, just don't give it to them if that's the case. But like something about these feels like there should be more like, I don't know, like the party should have more of a say, I guess. I don't know. I just don't know what it is about these.
I think this comes down. I think this does come back to what we said like at the beginning, for where you maybe talk with your party members about the different things that they would kind of want to gain as like as abilities. Because if a party member just be like, I don't want to sacrifice my attacks to give someone else extra attacks, maybe tweak it a little bit. Maybe, okay, I have this idea. How about I can, maybe instead you can sacrifice a attack to let your other party member get advantage on all their attack rolls or something along those lines. But
I definitely think
you mean like my revised fighter who can take the help action and replace one of their attacks?
I definitely think that this ability shines the most if it's not the same person doing it every time. If sometimes the fighter is buffing the barbarian and sometimes the barbarian is buffing the paladin, I think that this ability is really cool. I think that if it's always the same thing, if it's always the fighter saying, okay, on my first turn, I'm going to give up all my attacks to the paladin so that he can just go Nova on this. Like,
yeah, I agree.
I think that would be a little bit boring. It looks like Shawn had an idea, though. That's the face he makes when he has an idea.
I was thinking, like, I'm not sure. I think this would be a DM's call, and I think obviously the answer is no. But I think in theory you could like snowball this over and over and over again through the initiative. Like, so I have 2 attacks. I'm gonna give the barbarian 2 attacks. Barbarian's turn comes up. Okay, I'm gonna give the paladin 4 attacks, and I take 4 this turn.
Well, that's why it says. I thought that until the end of the party member's next turn, they can make additional attacks if they take the attack action.
Oh wait, the way you have this worded, it just doubles the number of attacks you get to take. It doesn't matter how many attacks the person gave up.
Yes.
Was that your intention?
Yes, that was my intention.
Okay.
Oh.
So the fighter is not giving away 4 attacks. They are just doubling the number of attacks somebody makes.
Well, How did I fuck this up?
Oh,
Barbarian goes from 2 to 4. Paladin goes from 2 to 4. Rogue goes from 1 to 2.
oh.
Okay, that's
Why didn't you just say can take twice as many attacks?
I don't know, because wording is hard.
That's
Yeah,
like
so
saying instead of saying multiply by 2, you're like, okay, take the number that we already have and put that on there too.
I think part of the okay, here's how I recall. Because I didn't want things like Thirsting Blade and the Blade Singer. But then again,
Blade
the
Singer
way I
literally just
worded
gets the extra attack feature, so this doesn't even stop the Blade Singer.
Yeah.
In fact,
Good
I think
point.
Thirsting Blade does the
Good
same thing, isn't it?
It does stop Thirsting Blade, because Thirsting Blade just does not say the extra attack.
It says you can attack with your packed weapon twice instead of once whenever you take the attack action on your turn. So a Warlock with Thirsting Blade can't give their attacks to someone else, but someone else giving their attacks to a Warlock can take the Warlock can take 4 attacks.
Yep.
A Warlock with Thirsting Blade can receive Diversionary Strike, but cannot give Diversionary Strike.
Which actually, now that I think about it, that feels good for Hexblades, because the whole point of the Hexblade is like wanting to use your sword to make attacks and stuff. But if you fucking get Eldritch Blast, you're gonna always want an Eldritch Blast because you can make more attacks.
Are you going to want to do that?
As a Hexblade, I mean, probably.
I mean, but probably not. Because Hexblades also get access to their Charisma bonus for attack and damage with the weapon, and they also get access to Hexblade's Curse, which is extra damage on the cursed target when you use your Hexblade against it.
I'm pretty sure what the Hexblade Hexblade's Curse is just attacks on them. It doesn't have to be
Hexblade's Curse also makes you the best Eldritch Blaster of all the Warlocks as well.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure at least. But yeah,
anyways.
This is a weird ability. It suddenly, yeah, I mean, this is another, this becomes already either neutral or losing.
Well, unless you're a barbarian buffing the fighter. The fighter gets up to 8 attacks still.
I guess also if you're the fighter buffing the barbarian, because the barbarian gets reckless attack. So
but the fighter potentially has more attacks that they're giving up than the barbarian is getting.
True, but I
think that this wording makes it more interesting.
Okay, it needs to be cleaned up. I'm aware of it needing to get cleaned up. I think I was worried about that with all 3 of these. Was when I made them yesterday, I was just like, man, I got ideas for these, but they need to get cleaned up.
Yeah.
But
So what do we want to do? Do we just want to clean it up so it says twice as many attacks?
I think so. I think twice as many attacks and only once when they take the attack action on their next turn. So the fighter can't make 16 attacks.
Yeah. They make twice as many attacks. Yeah, once on that turn when they take the attack action.
What about until the end of the party member's next turn? The first time they take the attack action, they make twice as many attacks.
That works.
Yeah,
I'm sure we could find some wording for it, but that sounds right to my ear right now.
So do we want to try to give the party member that's giving up their attack?
Let the person who's giving it up make 1 attack as a bonus action, perhaps. So it's still.
Yeah. I was gonna say maybe that the person who's giving it up gets the dodge benefits of the dodge action.
That could work too.
Yeah.
Or you could just have it that when
you take the dodge action, you can do this.
Yeah, and when you take the dodge action and you have the extra attack feature, you can do this or whatever.
But then the monk can take it as a bonus action.
Is that bad?
And the monk still
kind of is.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe you do it as an action and gain the benefits of the dodge action. That way the monk can't do it as a bonus action.
Yeah, that's probably the way to go. All right. What's this last one we got here, Justin?
This last
got a typo in the title. That's what it's got.
How the fuck? Which one? Because I don't believe it. Which fucking one is it?
That's not how enthralling is spelled. There's an H.
Fuck!
Oh,
I fucking forgot
See-
the H.
see,
Fuck!
and I was looking for the typo in enthralling, and I thought it was the L's. I was like, no, it should be 2 L's.
Yeah, yeah,
I thought I hit the H when I was typing this. I guess not. Anyways, enthralling present. Whenever a party member
What
succeeds
the
on
H?
a successful persuasion, intimidation, or deception check, the
What
DM.
if they succeed on a failure?
Shut up. The DM can let the party member make another DC 15 charisma check. Upon success, all party members who can hear the charisma check gain temporary hit points determined by the DM. It should be typically 1d8 plus charisma modifier. These hit points last until the end of a long rest.
This is all determined by the DM, man. You don't need to say that.
My issue. Well, he was just cribbing the wording that his friend used in his example for.
I would also like to point out, not friend, just someone that I saw this idea with in a Facebook
His
D&D
pal,
group chat.
his buddy, his best
Yeah,
friend, best friend at his
he's
wedding.
a good friend. Yeah.
Sure.
My issue with this is that I know that there is precedent for this in 5e, but I hate it there as well. Successful charisma checks are kind of weird. Because, like, what counts as a successful check? It's up to the DM no matter what. Because, like, a lot of social checks are gradient. Like, when you roll a 1 on your charisma check, that's not the same as failing. I'll treat it even worse than just regularly failing. And if you roll, like, a nat 20, for instance, these are examples. I'm not saying I do anything special for nat 20s or nat 1s, but if you roll a natural 20, for instance, versus, like, a 12, a 12 might still be a success, but I'm going to give you more stuff for a 20. So, like, it's up to me as the DM to determine success. The party doesn't really know what a success is. So, like, a party member who's going to use this ability, they can't really think of it, I guess, reliably. I don't know. It just feels weird to me to have successes on charisma checks be accounted for.
I don't know, but like any check, the DM, even if they don't have like a line where they're saying this is the difference between a success and a failure, the DM is going to have some idea of the difficulty of the check that they could translate into the DC. It's like, okay, this is a really tough check, so I'll say that the line for a success is a 17, but maybe if you get a 15, that's not abject failure, that's just the conversation's ongoing. Like,
yeah, but my example would be, well, two things. One, you need to have some sort of rooting in here to let this not be like, I guess it wouldn't be that problematic if it was abusable, honestly, because it's only temporary hit points.
Yeah.
But like you could cheese more charisma checks than are necessary in the game. By like, I don't know. I'll go talk to that dog over there.
Well, that's why I said the DM can let the party member, because then it's like, because then if the DM.
But on the other hand, that means that sometimes when you make a successful charisma check, the DM just gets to say, no, you don't get access to this bonus.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So the example I was going to lead up into is that if we're talking about, say, grappling, you know what a successful athletics check is in that situation. You know what a successful sleight of hand check is, for instance, if someone's trying to search your body. You know, like your past perception, checking to see someone's, like, doing an insight check at someone's deception. You know what those successes are, because there's, well, maybe not even so much for insight, honestly, because that could be gray as well, but at least for the physical ones. For the mental ones, it gets a little bit more weird.
Well, right. Sometimes maybe you succeed on the charisma check, but the person still denies your request. But maybe if you failed, they would have called the guards on you. Maybe a success is just, okay, you get to walk away from this.
Yeah.
I do like the idea of, like,
with you, Shawn, but I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, I do like the idea of, like, essentially, I mean, this is sort of like inspiring leader, where it's like,
yeah, it's supposed to be the inspiring leader.
Yeah, you're inspiring your party. I will know that inspiring leader is, I believe, limited, unlike this.
I believe it's like 10 creatures, but like at that point, fucking who's counting?
Well, I mean, if we're doing party member, like, we're probably gonna define party members as, like, some designation of creatures in the game.
Yeah.
Although inspiring leader does also take 10 minutes.
Yeah, it takes 10 minutes, and this is just whenever. Yeah, no, I just feel weird about how much this lays in the DM's hands, because, like, this I feel like it just leads into, like, the DM's not giving them enough, the party's gonna get upset, but if the DM's not doing it too much, then it's like, why don't I just give you temporary points all the time? Like,
That's true.
Like,
I think also, and this wouldn't work for what we're trying to set up, but this could be something from like behind the scenes. Maybe I guess behind the scenes so much for whenever a DM thinks, okay, you know what? They pass this check, and then you just give them. I don't know. Saying it out loud, it doesn't work. For the like,
it doesn't help
doesn't.
that you wrote whenever a party member succeeds on a successful check, since that
Yeah.
that's already implied.
Yeah, but I meant like
personally, I preferred my succeeds on a failure joke.
I know. I was just trying to crib. I wanted to have the laughs for myself. I just wanted to take your joke and have it for me.
That's fair. I also don't like that it's okay. You made a charisma check. Now here, make another charisma check. That feels a little weird to me.
Well, it's not necessarily a charisma check. It could be a strength intimidation check.
Oh yeah, it could be a strength intimidation check.
But then you're forced to charisma check to get benefit from it. So
yeah, this is the one that I feel the weirdest about, because even Channel Power, that we had a lot of like mechanical fiddling to do with it. Like I still I liked it at its core. This one I just feel kind of weird about, and not even for the same reasons as Shawn necessarily.
Right.
It's just I don't know. This one feels the loosest of all 7 of them to me.
Yeah, and I think this one might. This one probably would also benefit the. I think out of all 3 of mine, this would probably benefit the most from like what your knowing what your party is like.
Right. That's it. I see ways that you could edit this to make it fit particular parties, but
yeah. Yeah, I mean, so as I said, this one's drawing some inspiration from the Glory Kill.
Yeah, I wanted to have something like that.
That ability has a black and white trigger, whereas this one doesn't. And then just leaves it has 2 layers of grayness that it hands to the DM.
I mean, I think the first layer is not necessarily as gray as you're making it out to be.
It's more gray than you killed someone.
Yes, it's more gray than you killed someone, but by the books, anytime somebody's making a check, there's supposed to be a DC. There's supposed to be a target that says they succeeded or they failed. But I agree with you that the players might not know what the success looks like is a part of the problem.
Secret, sometimes the DM doesn't either. That's what I mean. Yeah. Is that, the vast majority of social DC checks they're not written down. They are spontaneously made by the DM in that moment. Either through a roll or just they make up something, because you can't account for every social scenario. I can make a DC for a trap because I know when and where you're gonna run into that trap. I don't know when and where you're gonna make all these social checks, so I don't write down DCs for all of them.
Yeah.
So it's putting the layer of gray that I'm talking about for the DM isn't necessarily the layers of failure and success I was talking about, and more so that they're gonna take a DC up in the meantime, and sometimes you don't know what the DC is going to be until you know the roll. Sometimes that happens. Another DM secret, and then the DM has to also be like, well, was this social scenario even worth giving this check for? And they have to make that decision.
Right. Well, and honestly, I feel like this might
that part.
I feel like this might make the DM a little bit more reticent to hand out persuasion, intimidation, and deception checks. It might be like, well, you're kind of trying to persuade them, but let's just talk this out instead of you making.
That's true.
Check.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
If the party does start to try and if they do kind of rely on this as a DM, you're like, is this worth giving them 1d8 plus charisma mod of temporary hit points?
Yeah.
Maybe let's not do a check, because if I don't give you the hit points afterwards, you might get mad at me.
Yeah.
It's a weird one.
It is definitely.
I do like tying benefits to being successful in social situations. I just don't know if this approach is something that I'm comfortable with.
I mean, that's fair. This was my kind of I want to give something to a social encounter.
I mean, this is just another situation where making things to reward social encounters is just harder than combat.
Yeah, it's so much harder. What if
you don't need to roll initiative to make a persuasion check?
I mean,
So
You
okay,
can though.
You don't need
So-
to.
you've called this enthralling presence, and the idea here is you succeed at some social scenario and you get a benefit from it. But what if we flip that on its head and it's instead when you fail in a social scenario, you get a little bit back. So like I'm thinking that the name of this hypothetical thing would be like laugh it off or something. And when you fail a persuasion, intimidation, or deception check, you
While your
do
party's around,
something.
because they can get the inside joke that nobody else gets. Right? So like you say something that comes off
Okay.
stupid or threatening or whatever, and the other person doesn't know how to respond, but your party can laugh it off and make it seem like it was all a joke. Like, oh, okay, I see,
there we
it's all
go.
lighthearted.
There we go. So you failed a check, and anyone else in the party can make a deception check against the same DC, and you can use their deception check instead. What about that?
Or at least make it so
Yeah.
that it doesn't count as a failure.
Right. Or maybe
yeah.
maybe
'Cause,
maybe
like,
you
if-
get, maybe you get to take a 10 on it instead. Like
Oh yeah. Or
Yeah.
That'd be interesting. Yeah. Instead of like whatever you did wrong.
right. Instead of like, that was a 7, it's like, okay, that's fine. It's a 12 instead. You got a 12 on it. It's not too bad, but you aren't winning any races over here.
You know, this is actually hold on. This actually reminds me of the spell Gift of Gab. Gift of Gab, as a reaction, you can cast it, and you essentially make everybody else forget what happened in the last 6 seconds.
Oh, that's
So,
that's from the AI book, isn't it?
Yeah, so like if you do something embarrassing, you're just like, oh nope, that never happened. Oops.
Yeah.
So I probably want to make it take 10, just because sometimes take 10 is still a failure. I'd probably just be like, the current state of affairs don't change or something.
Right, yeah. It is as if you never made the check.
Yeah. That'd be I think that's fun. I think it's a fun idea.
Yeah, I think that's fun.
I'd probably make it a performance check instead of deception, maybe.
Performance is better. Yeah, performance is better. That was a bit off the cuff, but I'm glad.
It's
I'm
like
glad
it's
we were on the same wavelength there.
Yeah. I think this is a neat idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. So when you fail a persuasion, intimidation, or deception check, yeah, I think those 3 are fine. I was thinking maybe performance as well, but that seems a little bit weird. So one of those 3, when you fail that check, and this gets rid of the DM having to make a like, do I give this to them thing? It goes into a party member can use their reaction to make a performance check and against the same DC, and on success, then how do we word that? Current state of affairs is still the same. Everybody move. How does Gift of Gab? Is it just they lose their memory? How does that work?
Yeah, Gift of Gab is you skillfully reshape the memories of listeners in your immediate area so that each creature of your choice within 5 feet of you forgets everything you said within the last 6 seconds. Honestly, I think that we might want to lean on... So, you know how when we did our social feeds, we went back and looked at the 1.5 pages in the DMG that talk about social rules. I think that we might want to crib some language from there so that it's like, on a successful performance check, the creature's attitude towards you is not affected by the failed charisma check.
Oh yeah. Like any creatures
involved in the conversation are not affected do not have their attitude affected by your failed check.
Yeah. Any creature that can see or hear the
the interaction. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that.
We'll find a way. But I like this idea. This is a really funny idea, and I like it a lot.
I'm going to be perfectly honest. The name is doing a lot of the heavy lifting here.
It is.
Yeah, I'm real glad that I came up with the right name. I just spelled it wrong.
Honestly, I think that a good name is really underappreciated in the art of designing something, because coming up with the right name can really lead you down the path to what the feature needs to be.
Also, Psychic Blades.
God damn it, Psychic Blades.
For anybody who doesn't know, there are 2 whole different features in the game called Psychic Blades. One
And
of
rules
them
is written,
is
you can't have them both.
Yep, one is a Soul Knife Rogue ability, and the other one is a College of Wizards Bard ability. They have the same name called Psychic Blades.
Yeah.
And they both do similar things, but they
Not
cannot
exactly the
stack.
same, though.
Similar, but not the same.
Yeah.
They both deal psychic damage, one with Psychic Attack and one with Bardic Inspiration. And boy, you can't stack them because they have the same fucking name, and it makes no sense.
And
it is very rude.
Rules as intended, I think you should be able to get them both.
Yeah.
But rules as written, you can't because they are 2 features from different classes with the same name.
Yeah. But we're running short on time, and we got to do 2 things. We got to first say goodbye to all you guys, but first decide what we're doing next week, which we actually already did.
For
once. What did you decide on?
We were going to do items or features related to a creature type.
Yeah. So we're gonna make pretty much anything. We have excluded spells. We're not gonna make any spells.
We make a lot of spells.
We make a lot of spells, and it's really easy to fall back on. So we're gonna make any sort of feature, like for instance, favorite enemy that relies on creature type, or an item, say like arrow slaying or like a mace of disruption that kills undead, that are based on creature types.
And to the point about favorite foe, we're shooting for something that has a specific type involved. So whereas favorite foe lets you choose, we're trying to come up with something that already has the choice made for you.
Yeah. Another good example is the Belt of Dwarven Kind. It's all dwarven themed, and it has dwarven effects and all of that.
Absolutely.
So that's what we're doing next week. Was there anything you guys wanted to say before we dropped off here?
Today's word of the day is enthrall, because Justin made a good point, but that is a perfectly good word. To capture the fascinated attention of, to enthrall. Also, it's used this way in D&D sometimes, but it used to mean to enslave, and so to make a thrall of someone, you are enthralling them. So that's an old usage, but now it just means to capture the attention of.
I didn't pour any water today, guys. That's why everything went so brutally wrong.
How dare you?
Drink more water, gamers.
I don't have any water in reach. I have vodka. Is that close enough?
Oh boy,
it's very liquid.
Well, that's gonna be into this week, and boy, do I hope that you're not here still, Hannah, so you don't have to hear this.
I hope you're here. I hope you're here so you can make fun of him for it.
That which is lost must be found. That which is found must be remembered. See you next week.
You didn't even fuck it up intentionally. What is this?
Wow, what a coward.
Oh, no, she's still here. God